Hey everybody, welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk number 10. So this is a big week for us. This is the 10th week that we've been doing our Tweet and Talk. So welcome once again to everyone. Please follow along with us on Google Plus as well as with the Twitter hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, check out our website at edumatch.education. You can sign up there to be the featured person of the day, and we can help you build your PLN. Now, tonight's topic is an excellent one, and initially, the idea came about. I have to give credit to rafranz. And speaking of giving credit, that is our topic for tonight, giving credit where credit is due. So just wanted to go ahead and introduce our panel, or have them introduce themselves. So if you all wouldn't mind just saying your name and a little bit about yourself, just so that everyone knows who you are. So we will go ahead and start first with Shelly.
Hi everyone, I'm Shelly Sanchez Terrell. I'm based in Texas. I'm a teacher, trainer, international speaker, author of the 30 Goals, and Learning to Go.
Fantastic. Next up we have rafranz.
I'm rafranz Davis, and I'm the Executive Director of Professional and Digital Learning for Lufkin ISD in Texas. I'm the Director of Instructional, but I'm the writer of the book Missing Voices in Ed Tech by Corwin Press, and I'm a habitual offender on occasion and oftentimes a disruptor, and I'm really sorry about that.
Awesome. We are so happy to have you here with us today. So next up we're going to go with Melissa over in Ohio.
All right. Hi everybody. I am Melissa. I am entering my 16th year of teaching, and I am an ELL teacher. I moderate a bi-monthly Twitter chat on Monday evenings called Dub Chat for my school district, Dublin City Schools. And I'm hanging out at the pool before I have to go back to work after the summer.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, summer is definitely wrapping up. So we are going to pass the mic next to Dean.
Hi, everybody. Dean Dahl. I'm a 6th grade science teacher, as well as teaching a class called Middle School Skills and Support. It's when they come from elementary, often the hard skills along with technology skills, and I teach in Edina, Minnesota, hence the accent. And also I moderate a monthly or bi-monthly show with teachers to teachers, and just trying to share information as it happens in the classroom with soft topics, and yeah, that's it.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Dean. And last but not least, let's kick it over to Christian.
Hi, my name is Christian Padgett. I am in Atlanta, and this is going into my 4th year of teaching. I am an instructional technology coach for Fulton County Schools.
All right, wonderful, and congratulations on a new position. So we are just going to go ahead and kick off this discussion. This is going to be organic Ed Camp style-ish. So we're just going to have people pop in whenever they have something that they would like to share. So our topic tonight, once again, is giving credit where credit is due, particularly in the world of education. So would anyone like to kick it off for us today?
I'll start it, only because I know how this conversation kind of came about and comes about, and I think we do it all the time, and it affects all of us. You know, we're on Twitter constantly, on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and the general, I guess, thought with sharing is to, you know, how many times if you went to find a picture on Google Images that represented something that you were feeling, and you just shared it on Instagram kind of without thinking. And so what is happening is there are images, there's work being shared, and there are people in our circle who are taking the credit for work that they did not create, and it's such that kind of situation that happens because we're such sticklers for that in the classroom area. You know, we've had kids that we have procedures in school for kids that we call it plagiarism. If they take something or they use something that is not theirs, there's a punishment with points. I mean, we have such an idea of how to deal with that with students, but we're often not the best modelers of that practice ourselves as teachers. So I guess my question to kick us off with is, what should teachers be cognizant of as we're sharing? What to you is best practice? Let's go with Shelly first.
Well, I love this topic because I recently wrote a blog post about this, and I got a lot of heat for writing this particular blog post. And the reason why I got this heat was because I called out someone. And one of the reasons why I called it out was because I had shared a tweet. And I think there's this concept of what is attribution and what is not. The way that I see it is that if you do it with the right intentions and you know from the heart that you're doing it because it's not so you go viral, it's not so you get credit, so you're considered, you know, you got the viral share of the day, it's on Zeit, it's on these top posts, the Paperlies and stuff, but that you're actually inspired by that person's work. And if you're inspired and you want to share, then I think go the extra mile. It only takes a few seconds. In this case, somebody copied my tweet. They took off the Twitter handle that was in this original tweet, and I put the original idea so people could see this is actually what happened. This leader who a lot of people share his work and stuff, it happened in this time instead of, he's done it before for a year, but in this particular instance, he was a student. It was unbeknownst, so it wasn't done, you know, intentionally as far as the student was. But I think a lot of people agreed that that was okay. They said it's okay to steal somebody else's tweet, and it's okay to take off. And these are teachers and principals and stuff. And they said there's not a problem. And I think that's really sad because I think the authors and the people who really work for this, they should be getting the credit. They're the ones who should be followed and stuff like that. So that's my feelings with it.
Thank you, Shelly. That was amazing. Does anyone else? And I remember that situation. And I'd be clear that the whole point in this chat is not to call out individuals, but really have a poignant discussion about where we are and sort of the education that needs to take place between educators themselves. You know, this is something we assume knows. We have digital citizenship curriculum for students that kind of touches on these topics. So unless I've missed something, I haven't seen a digital citizenship curriculum for teachers. And if there is, this is a great place to share that. So I don't know if any more of you actually do any training in you, but would love to hear anyone else's feedback on what to you is best practice with attribution in education.
Well, I wanted to say I was following a tweet thread from Alice Keeler, and she was really talking about how we needed to gain permission to use different photos or images that are floating around. And rafranz, you mentioned it earlier, you know, we're on Twitter and I'm saving a cool graphic or something that's like really cool, and then I realized, oh my gosh, like I am not giving anybody credit for what I'm putting on maybe my blog or whatever. I'm not using it to gain anything, but from an outsider's eyes, they don't know that. So I've started asking permission. It's kind of difficult to find where the original image came from, but if you go to my Twitter page, my Twitter cover is an image that I saved from Twitter, and I'm like, I'm gonna see who it belongs to. Well, it belongs to Boys Town, and I emailed them and I said, is it okay if I use your image? They asked me what I was gonna use it for, and then they sent me an image that had their website added to the bottom of it. And of course I was more than happy to oblige and use one that they had sent me because it's about promoting them, not me. And it was such a cool image that I sent it to them because I had to tweak it a little bit in Canva and add a background. That's all I did was put it in front of a yellow background. And then I said, is this okay? Does this, you know, meet your standards? And it does take a moment to kind of find an email and to get that email out and wait patiently to get the reply. But, you know, I think it's our responsibility that if we're teaching it to our students, that we need to be participating in that as well, and not taking credit for other people's stuff. That it's just not cool sometimes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to piggyback off of what Melissa was just saying right now. A lot of times when we don't know where something came from, then a helpful tool might be the Google image search, the reverse search, where you can kind of like drag and drop the picture and it'll find online different places where it is. So that can help to trace back where the image may have come from.
I add on to that. I think a lot of it has to do with the relationship that you have in your PLN or your digital relationship versus actually having a physical relationship, or someone across the hall versus across the country. And use the example of Casey Bell. I mean, she just kicks out so much stuff, and had the great opportunity. Rafranz and I had the great opportunity of meeting her in person last December. And she just says, she throws it out there. She's just said it's a community she's sharing. Well, I know that, and when I'm using it, I give credit, but I also know that I can use that because that's the way she feels about it. But if I don't know someone in that respect, I think it's easy enough to send a text, send an email, or ask about that and build that relationship in the way that they want it to be shared.
Absolutely, I agree. Definitely, I've had that same situation. Tech Chef for You, I think, is one of the most habitual um, contributors, aside from Casey Bell, on everything that's completely related to iPads. And everything that she does is shared on her blog, on a Pinterest page, on Listly, on any place where you can curate. She basically curates. And there are people who have also used her things. Then what's her Christy? But what is Vanasdale? I can never remember how to say her name. Inspired. She has made images after images after images that have been used through Teachers Pay Teachers, and there's a process to that. So I guess my next question is, what do you do as an educator when you come across someone's work who you know? Like, I know Christy Vanasdale's work. I know Tech Chef for You's work. We know Casey Bell's work. I know now I'm getting to know Shelly's work a little bit more. What do you do as an educator when you come across someone's work that has been placed in a space, and maybe the right credit isn't given? Because in my mind, giving credit leads other people to find more work that that person has done, that maybe it can help inspire the work that they do. So how do you handle that as a third-party person?
I think that's a great question, Rafran. I'll just jump in really quick, is because that's what I found out from writing this blog post. And there was actually more than 2,000 shares of the tweet. It became this big thing, and a lot of teachers said exactly what you said. What am I supposed to do if I don't see the credit on the picture? What am I supposed to do if I do see something and mention, but I really want to share it, and it's so much easier to just retweet it, repost it, or restatus, And I think, a private DM at least, if you don't want to bring it in the public, we can always privately ask someone on Twitter, or a lot of times you can really look at their About Me page, you can look at their email, and if you don't want to call anyone out or anything like that, then it's easy to just send them a private message and say, hey, I know this picture doesn't have attribution. I'd like to use it. I'd like to share it. Do you have any idea where you got it from? Or even if you recognize from somebody else, to tell that person. It's easy to, hey, I saw your image on something. You don't have to call it out if they don't follow you, but you can easily say, can I box you? And then we can get to the bottom of this. That's what I would recommend.
I agree with what you're saying. It's our responsibility as educators, we need to get something, and if not, there's a full way to call somebody else, so to speak. But someone to that for us, so keep in mind that we're just trying to help each other out. So we need to kind of take that and say, you need to appropriately where you're getting this, or whatever it may be.
Melissa, I'm sorry, we're not really hearing you too well. It's breaking up a lot. All right, maybe we can pass it to Christian. I think she froze.
Okay, well, I mean, the one thing I want to say is that I understand about credit, giving credit where it's due, but I also feel like how can you, when does it become the responsibility of the person who made the work to actually give themselves some credit and also go ahead and acknowledge that they created this piece of work? Because sometimes, like we just mentioned, when you see some of these pieces online, the author or the creator of it they don't put their name on it. And it almost goes back to how we talk about in the classroom sometimes as teachers. What happens with when students don't put their name on their work? And, you know, not to sound funny, but some teachers throw away the work or other people claim it. And is it right? You know, I'm not saying it's necessarily right, but when does the creator take some responsibility as well?
I would just like to say really quick, Chris Eventspired wrote something in regard to that, and I think that's a really good point you brought up, because a lot of responses I got was that as well. They said it's the creator's responsibility to put on their picture, like Sylvia Duckworth, she does so many sketch notes, she puts at Sylvia Duckworth so you know where she got it from. But in Chrissy, if you read that post, it's easy to find it on her blog. She had a lot of her work stolen, and then people profited off of it. And she had something to say about how she had these feelings like, maybe I shouldn't always put my name, and now she does for protection, but at first she was really uncomfortable, and she said, it sounds to me like I'm, you know, being out there with ego and saying, hey, look what I did, because she was producing so much. So I think you raise a really good point with that.
Just down that line, and I heard a podcast on this, and in referring to how it's used in Twitter, isn't it really true unless once we throw whatever it is, whatever comment, whatever quote, whatever tweet, once it's out on Twitter, since it's fairly unfederated, it's out there unless we say that we own it, that we self-proclaim it ourselves. And I just heard articles where, and Twitter has kind of taken that stance too, that if you're not owning it per se, it's once you let go of it, it's gone. Has anyone else? I'd love to hear how you all feel about that.
You know, for me, it used to be that when I blog, I use all my own graphics. That's why I do a lot of Instagram. My Instagram is not just family pictures. All of those pictures are fair game for my blog. And so when I make my graphics and I add text or whatever to them, and whether I'm using Canva or Photoshop, I have not been putting my name on it at all. And so what happens is, because of the way my blog is structured, those pictures that I created, no matter what I upload, are now they're under Creative Commons open licensing. So when you go to Google image search, and even if you show images only under Creative Commons, my blog images would show. Now that's an adjustment that I need to make on my end if I don't want that. And in all honesty, I don't have a problem with contributing to the educational space. I don't have a problem with people using an image that I created under Creative Commons. But what I am going to be more cognizant of, especially if I create something that you know, sometimes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into those little things. If I create something, I am going to make sure that I at least put my Twitter handle on it, just because it is mine. Now, if someone takes the liberty to take a piece of that, and if they do it under education fair use, and it's not because I went through all of the different videos and lessons under what constitutes as fair use. If someone takes a portion of my picture, you know, they actually could do that, and there's not much I can do about it. But I would think that we as a community would say, you know what, we're going to operate in this way. So can you force that? I don't know. But I'm learning now to take more credit for my work, because once you put it out there, it's gone, and that's a reality. It's just like tweeting. I'll tweet random thoughts that I'll know in my mind, I need to blog this. So even when I sit down to blog, sometimes when I've tweeted it, the ideas are, the next thing I know, someone else has already blogged about it. And I would like to even give the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, well, they had the same idea. Basically, the entire blog post is a duplication of the things that I tweeted. And, of course, there's no credit given to that, but what can you say? I mean, I've learned to let that go, but that's also one of those big kind of issues that we deal with.
I just want to add on, I think one thing that we also got to remember is that while we may be literate on how we should treat other people and acknowledge their work, many other educators are not. So my big question then becomes, how do we train other teachers and other educators to really go and acknowledge other people's work? And I think sometimes it's just easier to retweet, and I think that's what happens sometimes. But, I don't think it's done out of, malintent or anything, but how do we get teachers to recognize that this is other people's work, and how can we truly give them credit for it?
I started sending a bunch
I think we have to make it a priority.
Sorry. What was that? Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think we have to make it a priority. Just as much to submit proposals at conferences or events to talk about all the apps we use and all of the ways in which we do everything else, we need to make it a priority to talk about those things as well in the spaces where a lot of that massive sharing is happening. Like, we have a priority to put it in the conversation, because if not, it doesn't happen.
And I agree with you, rafranz, on that, because one of the things I started doing that I learned from this whole experience was I noticed that there were some people who did do this with malintent. And unfortunately, yes, we have lots of great educators and leadership out there, but some of them have on several occasions taken off the watermark, taken off when people did do that. The other thing I think is malintent is if you see a free image or something like that, and then you put it on Teachers Pay Teachers, and you're profiting from it, then I think, hey, if you didn't create it, that's malintent. I mean, because you're profiting from something somebody else created, and it seems like it's yours since you didn't credit it. So I think those things are different. But what I started doing is I started putting pictures, and I started putting quotes that said, "Are you the power you have to share dictates who our educational voice leaders are. If they aren't attributing, please respect the authors, the creators of those images, those thoughts, those ideas." And I tweeted something from Alec Carroll as well. It was a quote. I asked him if I could make it into a quote pick. And it said, if we take away the attribution, or if we don't give credit, then we get rid of the lineage. And if we have that lineage taken away, that hurts the whole community. Plus, it's a value system. So I sent a lot of quote picks. I think this podcast is probably going to be really great with actually letting a lot of teachers know that.
I agree 100%. So just wanted to thank you all so much for this awesome, very much needed discussion about proper attribution, because this is a topic that that we all have to deal with and we all need to be very knowledgeable about. So definitely wanted to thank rafranz for doing an awesome job moderating, and wanted to thank everyone on the panel as well for being here and sharing their insights and their thoughts. Wanted to thank everybody who was following along on the Twitter hashtag EduMatch. So this tweet will be storified, and the podcast will be also available as an iTunes podcast. So come back next week. We're going to have another great discussion. This one is going to be about collaborating. So it's kind of like this one was a nice little segue into next week as well. The topics are definitely related. So check that out at bit.ly/tweettalk11. And anyone can be a panelist, so just leave a comment. Hopefully our fantastic panel here will join us again in a future episode. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already at our bit.ly/EduMatch podcast, so that you get this in a nice little package for your device. So thank you all again, and everyone have a fantastic evening. Good night.